And we're back again. Bradley Marchant, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, very well, thank you, my friend.
Man, thank you so much. First off, for giving me the opportunity of being here, because you're now obviously the owner, should I say, of the Marbella podcast studio. But man, it's incredible because we met just under a year ago, and I've obviously seen your development in that time. And it's so relevant to the topics we're going to talk today, all based on mindset, whether it's Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy. Like, you've applied each and every lesson of this. So I'm very excited, obviously, to go down many rabbit holes and routes with you today. But how has life been for you, I suppose, over the last 12 months? Because there has been a tremendous amount of progress.
Yeah, there has.
And a lot happened.
Yeah, so obviously I came to Marbella 18 months ago, October 2023, I think it was, through a mutual friend that we both know.
That's right.
I was doing a sales call, and every day when we're doing this sales call at 12 o'clock, I saw his background. It was always sunny, and I was like, fuck, where are you?
And it wasn't a filter.
It wasn't a filter, no. And at this point, I was going through like my solo dating era. So I was taking myself on solo dates, 7-course meals, candlelit events. And he was just like, I'm in Marbella. And I was like, yeah, all right. He's like, you should come over. I think he said he's got a villa.
Oh, yeah?
So I went on Ryanair, booked a one-way flight. Turns out it wasn't obviously a villa. It was a 2-bedroom house. Yeah. Great view, beautiful. And then obviously that transitioned into me moving here, got my digital nomad visa. And in the last 12 months, mate, like, life has exponentially grown. I'll put it that way.
And let me ask, is that something that you expected to happen? Did you have that expectancy of, this is the life I'm going to live?
100%. Yeah. Because I think for me, obviously, I've been for the last 14 years heavy into personal development. Got introduced that through a network marketing company in 2011. Got introduced to Jim Rohn and stuff like that.
Jim Rohn's the goat, man.
Absolute G. So when I was going through like a bit of a tough patch, I started going to therapy sessions and stuff like that, and started to go in to seek guidance, if you will.
Interesting.
And the woman who was doing it, she was a little bit spiritual, and she was like, there's something telling me that you should be traveling. You shouldn't be here in Leeds. Okay. So I never felt home in the UK. And I started going to Ibiza, I started going to New York, I started going to Vegas. And then when I came here, it's the first time in my life that it actually felt like a home, if that makes sense.
No, I know what you mean.
So I think when I made the decision to move here, I knew my life would exponentially change because I'd got out of the comfort version of Bradley, if that makes sense.
Because that's the thing about moving to a new place. You can recreate yourself.
100%.
You can become a completely different human. Because the Bradley from Leeds is not now the Bradley sitting in front of me in Marbella.
Yeah, of course.
He's a completely different version. And that's the great thing, that we can redefine ourselves if we want to.
Yeah.
We've got to put the work in as well.
Absolutely.
Man, I absolutely love that, because it is mad. And so you do feel a deep connection to here in Marbella, and you think this is the place.
Yeah. I genuinely see, like, and it's the first ever time I've envisioned myself raising my kids here. Obviously, I don't have children yet, but I see myself raising kids here. I've got obviously the base with the studio. Yeah. And obviously the movie's coming out this year. We're looking at buying another studio in Estepona, which is 17,000 square meters. Wow. So like the longer term vision is a hell of a lot different than what it was from the long term vision of Bradley in the UK, if that makes sense.
No, and you talk about vision there. I'm guessing, obviously, was this all part of a visualization that you once had of the life you're going to live?
Yeah. Like I'm huge into stuff like that. Like, one of the biggest things that like, from a scripture standpoint, is write the vision, make it plain, so he who sees can run. When I got taught that in 2012, I was at an event, and it felt like a church cult. And I was like, why is this guy spitting biblical shit on a stage in front of 3,000 people? And my brain at that point couldn't compute what that meant. I understood writing goals, but I never understood the biblical scripture of it, of what that actually meant. And whereas now, like, that's the biggest thing that I teach to some of my people that I teach, is if they understand the scripture part of that, the stuff that they can achieve is madness.
And how do you help someone understand that? Because the Bible is full of wisdom, and literally the quotes that we'll read out today will all be traced back to the Bible, which is absolutely fascinating. Because it all, like, the life that you live is all based on the mindset that you operate from.
100%.
And for me, I've been in that similar position to yourself, where you're like, I'm writing the goals, I'm doing the thing, but maybe just haven't bridged that gap of understanding and really, really applying it. Because when you really apply it, the world changes.
I think where a lot of people go wrong, in my opinion, is they put the physical attachment to things. So they'll put a target for a watch, they'll put a target for a car, or a monetary income. But what they don't do is they don't attach the emotion that goes behind it. They don't attach the feeling. So like, even though Bradley Marchant 12 months ago wanted to make 100 grand a month, there was no, well, why? What will that do? Yes, I want to drive a Lamborghini Aventador in baby blue, but what will that do? You know, like, how will that make me feel? So then when I start to have my shit days, when I start to go off track a little bit, I start to watch Twitch again on TV, which I do. I then reiterate and remind myself, like, shit, like, you've got so much to do that once you do this, like, I know in 2 months' time, my mum and dad's mortgage will be paid. I've felt that for years, knowing the thought of that, if that makes sense.
No, I know. So you've been feeling it all along, and now it's just coming to be.
To fruition,
To fruition. I love that word. Fruition. It does take time, and I love it. And like I said, we're going to go through a few of the greatest thinkers, I believe, of past times and even a few current as well. But I just love the way, the reason why I wanted to have you on, Brad, is because, like I said there, you've applied all these lessons and it's so evidently clear, and it's great to see someone, you're only a few years older than me as well, like, you've gone through it, which is brilliant, and now you're, once again, reaping the success of.
100%.
But it does take time, and it doesn't come all at once, but I think, like you said, for years, you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, and I think also the version of me that I had to become to get that, like, I've been asking and praying for this for fucking 15 years. But if I'd have got this 15 years ago, when I was in my party phase, I was going out Thursday to Sunday, I'd have been dead, bro. It would have been a good thing. The 100 grand a month or whatever it is that I wanted to earn or attain, I was a wreck at 2 grand a month. So, like, if I'd have got all of that stuff that I'd have asked for there and then, I wouldn't be alive. That's a fact. And it wasn't that I was some drug addict or anything like that. It was just a Thursday to Sunday, I used to go out and we'd just see where the day went. You know? And I think you've got to become that version of you that you truly want to be. And it comes down to even the littlest things like shaking hands, like eye contact, the super basic things that the average human doesn't pay attention to is what, if you want to get to them successes, like, it's like when I go to events, I'll see what 99% of the room's doing. Who's the mover and shaker making the most money? Right. I'll imitate myself to that, and that's all I did for 10 years.
Act like the person you want to become.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Imitation is part of the game, and we can learn this from the most successful people, because there's laws to success, and if you simply apply them, well, guess what? You just become a byproduct of success as well. It's amazing. You've obviously been to Bob Proctor events, which I've never met anyone before that's been to a Bob Proctor event, so this is pretty surreal. What was something that you took away from the lessons with him? And is there any of them, obviously, you want to touch on? Maybe you want to dive into this?
I got goosebumps then, because the moment I met him was when I truly believe my life shifted. Because
what year was this?
This was 2017.
Okay.
So, with a network marketing company, again, my background's network marketing, just in case you didn't get that. That was sales side of things. And went to an event, and there was like a closed door event, if you will. You had to be making $250,000 a month to get there. I was making buttons at that time. And they were like, right, we've got an evening dinner tonight, smart dress. You can come to the kind of pre-bit where we all just stand in the bar, but you can't come to the dinner. I was like, yeah, no worries. And if ever I imagined what the doors of heaven would look like if they opened, that's the moment that I get.
Wow. Like,
Bob Proctor came in and there was a fucking beam of light behind him. And like, because obviously he'd just come out of a conference room where all the lights were.
Okay.
And he came down and sat, there were 28 people there. I shouldn't have been there. And he just came and sat down. And I was like, I'm not fucking moving. I'm not getting up and being the weird guy who leaves when the main guy sits down. Yeah. And he started going into like a bit of a spiel. At this point, I'd already paid for the coaching side of things to go to his private one-to-one sessions, or group sessions they were at the time. And he started going into like a bit of a spiel about like, you know, if I were to come to your house today, would you see, you know, where you want it to be? And I just went, no, you wouldn't. Out loud. This is where the ADHD kicked in. And he looked and he went, well, why? And I went, well, you'd see my current situation. They went, yeah, but why is that? And I was like,
that's a great question.
You're in my house, like, that's where I live. Is that right? I don't know you. He says, but are you in my course? I was like, yeah. He's like, right. In next time the event is, which was in 4 months, he says, just a little recap would be good. He said, all I want you to do is go away and print pictures of what it is that you want, and I want you to write on it in paper, on pen and paper, I am so happy and grateful now that I am. I was like, fucking, I've heard this EBGB bullshit before, like, but it's coming from the man himself.
Yeah, yeah.
So literally,
and he's an authority.
Yeah, he's the G at this point.
He is the G.
Yeah, still to this day. And I printed out 28 images of like watches, cars, the house, the girl, everything that I physically wanted. Some of the stuff was actually care homes, dog sanctuaries, all that type of stuff. And at that point, my business wasn't doing that great.
It wasn't reflecting your current situation.
It wasn't matching the work ethic. The work ethic was high, but the income was buttons. And after 92 days, my business had grown by 900%.
92 days?
Yeah, after 92 days.
900%?
900%. And I'm telling you, all I did different was change my environment at that point, because I was in my office all day, every day.
Yeah.
And I had on the wall, I've still got some of the pictures back at my mum's house in the UK. And all I did was have the pictures on the wall in front of me every single day. I had it on my roof, I had it on the bedroom, I had it where I brushed my teeth, where I made coffee, like where I came down the stairs, anywhere that I had a physical presence on a consistent basis in my house.
You're just seeing that image.
And people thought I was weird. And I went back to the event like 4 months later, and I just went, like, this was in passing in the thing. I was like, just to let you know, thanks very much for when we last met. Obviously, he doesn't remember me from Adam at that point. I was like, my business has grown 900%. He went, told you it works. He said, maybe get yourself back inside. He said, I'm about to start speaking. I was like, yeah, all right, mate, I'm running for a quick shit. Like, 2 minutes. Like,
oh my God,
yeah.
man. That is surreal. And what was that follow-up talk like? Can you remember anything from it?
It was very, very brief, like literally passing in a corridor.
Okay.
And it was, and then from then, obviously, I bought into like He's in a Circle, paid money every year, if you will, to be inside that, to get access to like thinking into results and all of his other stuff that came from it. But from a growth perspective, like that one thing like shifted and transitioned a hell of a lot more, because I understood what them words actually now meant, speaking everything in present tense. Whereas before I'd heard it in, other coaches saying it, I'd seen it in other books, but I'd never heard it to be applied. in that manner. Yeah,
that, and the work I love as well. Bob Proctor's work amazing, and he does always speak about it in the present tense. Dr. Joe Dispenza. Supernatural, love that book. I've been re-listening to it lately, but he talks about like having a higher intention with an elevated emotion. So elevated emotions might be joy, love, excitement, just these very empowering emotions. If you can feel them with something that will be present in your life. I don't like using the word want, because I think want is a term that is associated with lack. And we want to think abundantly right now. We're thinking of, I will have this, or I will, instead of want, it's will, because will is definitely going to happen. Want is, it may happen. May happen. But I think it's so powerful. And is this something, Bradley, that you use even on a day-to-day basis now in your life now, even though you've, look at where we are right now, but look what's happened to you in Marbella. Is this something that you still apply today, or how do you use it now?
So I still have it in my house. Like, my house is still like a shrine. And even though people say to me, Bradley, well, you've got the things that you want, I haven't. Like, they just shift. So like my A-type, B-type, C-type goals are completely different now than they were 3 years ago.
Break that down for me.
So like, you've got your A-type goals, which are what you know you can attain. So like, they're pretty much, they're not pointless, they're like a given. Your B-type goals are something that you know you can attain, but they're going to require a little bit more work. And then you've got your C-type goals, which are going to stretch you and pull the living daylights out of you till you get to that. And most people set that as like a set income level or a set achievement that they want to. But obviously, when you grow as a person, them goals shift with it. So your what was a C-type goal becomes an A-type goal. So like my monthly income that I've got now used to be a C-type goal. And it blows my brain, because I've been writing that every fucking day.
I love that, man.
Every day.
Write it down. Write it down. It's not good enough just to think of it.
No.
Think of it, or even saying things out loud is very powerful. But handwritten. Write it in the present tense.
So that's what I do every morning. So I
still love this, man. I do as well.
Yeah, still my daily stuff. So like, I used to listen to Earl, basically it's there anyway, Earl Nightingale in the morning, The Strangest Secret, every morning. So my coach at the time was like, what do you do on the first thing on the morning? I was like, I have a shower. I listen to music. I'll journal. And he was like, right, stop right there. He's like, on your morning routine, change music to Earl Nightingale, Strangest Secret. He says, because you've not understood the actual power behind that yet. So I was like, all right, okay. So I did that for 18 months, literally every morning. So like that's my.
And would it be the same video over and over?
The video,
you need that. Like
yeah,
it's not good enough to listen to something once. Yeah. Drill it into your head over and over and over.
And I think we touched on this before the podcast started. Like someone might read that book once, and they'll take such a minute away from it, and they'll say, "Oh, I've read that book," but they don't embody what that book means. So it's the same with the audios. It's the same with like, I used to go to Bob Proctor's event 4 times a year, and I was like, second time, and I'm like, why is this motherfucker saying the same thing? So it's the same thing. Literally the same words are coming out of his mouth. He's repeating himself verbatim.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, bro, like, why do you say this? He's like, oh, you were here last time? I was like, yeah. He's like, 90% of the people in that room weren't. He said, but the 10% didn't implement it. He said, did you implement what you learned in my last event?
Ah, brilliant. That's where you get caught out.
Well, you know, I had a bad elbow and stuff like
excuses line up. Excuses.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is so true. Like repeating it over and over again.
But like my morning routine has got a hell of a lot better. My house is like a shrine. So like even when people come round to my house, they find it weird to an extent. Yeah. Because they're like, well, what's all that writing on your wall? Like, why have you got pictures everywhere? Like, why have you got it in your fucking bedroom? Yeah. Like where you shower, where you go to the toilet, like where you make your coffee,
you need to see
where
it
you
over.
brush your teeth.
Yeah.
I'm like, right, well, it's fine. I used to have it all on the back of my phone. It's on my laptop.
Just constant.
So even though it might be sat there, it's still
in your mind.
Yeah.
Because I think the greatest faculty that we have is our imagination, and it works in mental images.
Yeah.
And it talks about this in literally what is Earl Nightingale's work, Bob Proctor's work. It's like you've got to see it, believe, and then become
100%.
it. And it is only a matter of time. But there is one lesson that I love from Bob Proctor, and I'm guessing you may have heard it before, but he says, "Let go and let God."
Yeah.
Just like you've got to surrender to what it is that's going to happen, and even for yourself, like you said, there was many years where you were learning the lessons. Maybe you just hadn't applied them just yet, but you knew deep down it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you give into this kind of surrender. You just kind of let it go, and then it kind of flows. That abundance of whatever it might be in your
100%.
life just kind of comes into the present.
And I think people see surrender as a weakness. They see it as a negative word. And I think, like for me, I had to surrender the old version of me to get to that new version of me, because if I'd have kept my old ways, the old version of me, and I'd have kept how I was, I would never have got there. Yeah. And I had to let go of me. I had to let go of me as a human being.
What does that look like, Brad, when you say let go? Like burn away the old version of you?
So I think ultimately just like I had to kind of reaffirm to myself that where I'd got to in life, even I'm doing it now. Like I've just hit a certain level where I've been wanting to hit this for years. And even now, like I'm finding what was the old version of Bradley, trying to creep back in a little bit add comfort levels in. So I almost have to kind of remove that version of me. Like I used to be the nice guy, let everyone walk over me. I used to be the person who pay for everything. I still do that to an extent, but again, that's something that I'm learning to do. And just almost become that ruthless business person day to day, but still be the nice, loving friend at the same time. Partner,
the same guy that you were. Yeah.
Because I've always been that nice person, but what I found is those in business, they have that cutthroat mentality, that shark mentality where they can flip a switch 1 minute the business and they're telling you it straight, but then 30 seconds later, they're okay going for a beer with you.
Kind of, yeah. You've got to have that edge to you, especially as a man, because like you said, people walk all over you if that's not the case. But I like kind of what you said there, that old Bradley can come back in, and I think Bob Proctor talks about this as well in terms of paradigms. Like shifting of paradigms, which 100%. Is just kind of mental states, or is that a good way to describe mental states? But like that's what it is. But what I love about that as well, the let go and let God, is like he often touched on a point as well, and this is so true. But like if we put too much importance on something, it doesn't seem to come to fruition. No. And he often says force negates.
Of course.
And I love them two words because it's so true. When you're like anything, like you're chasing after it the whole time.
It's like when you were chasing a girl, when you were younger.
She's got to run away.
Yeah, of course.
She's got to run away.
She thinks
but
you're
if
weird.
you just exactly. But if you become the man and you embody what it is that you will have present in your life,
you'll attract it.
Yeah,
100%.
That's the big difference. And that these lessons, they're so simple, but like when you apply them,
that's why it is like this, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was this, because it is the strangest secret.
The strangest secret, yeah.
Because you can cut up on my arms, my legs, my fingers, everything, and my body will tell you to the molecular structure why my fingers move, why the blood pumps the way that it does, why my heart beats. But you couldn't cut my brain open
And find out
and tell me why I think how I think.
That's so interesting.
So if we understand that everything's about consciousness, then it's up to us on, like, for example, now this is my reality.
Because you've created
You're just a
fragment in it.
A fragment of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm one in yours. But most people don't ever understand or think of it like that. They just see themselves being part of a world, and they're just a small little cog. Whereas I'm the consciousness,
and you're the creator of it.
Whenever I speak, I will attract and manifest into my life. So like the stuff that's coming is a different level of consciousness and world, if you will, than me 12 months ago.
And that makes so much sense because, once again, the great Bob Proctor talks about about mindset and getting on that state of mind that you need to be in. And then he talks like frequency and this stuff. When I first got into it, I was like, this is all fucking bullshit. This is all woo-woo.
Yeah.
But then you start to study it a bit more and it actually makes a lot of sense as well. But like that version of Bradley will, for yourself, you'll have to elevate to a different type of frequency to tap into that.
Of course.
It's like tuning a radio.
It's
like tuning a radio.
Yeah.
And you want to get on that frequency to attract whatever it is into your life and for it to become present.
Yeah.
But I love it. Was there any lessons from Earl Nightingale himself or anything else?
Not as such, no. I think for me personally, for anyone who's just getting into like transitioning or they feel like they're a bit stuck, the audio of this is 33 minutes long.
It's brilliant, and that book's only 36 pages.
It's literally this is a perfectly sized book.
Yeah,
and also like the audio is great for background because you can listen to it and your brain will resonate with things at a certain point that you're on. Yeah. So if you're on a certain journey, there'll be certain things within that resonate with you at certain times. The same with me as Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. I read that book. Well, it was a doorstop for a long time. When I first got it in 2011, but then eventually, again, I understood the principles in it, and I read chapter 8 so many times, and I never really understood the principles and the concept behind it, which is making a decision. Yeah. But when you make the decision, that's when everything changes. And then chapter 11 for me in Think and Grow Rich was sexual transmutation.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Most people they think it's an STD or some form of weird virus, you know?
Yeah.
But when I studied that, I'm like, as a guy, we're taught to watch porn, we're taught to just jerk it off every now and again and, let that seed just go down.
Because that's
flusher, if you will.
Creative energy.
Creative energy. So if people understand that if they're not wanking all the time,
which you shouldn't be anyway.
Which you shouldn't be anyway, because it's a disease. But if they keep that creative energy inside them and they reharness that energy that bears life and they put that into their own life, that is what, for me, like I didn't have when I was kind of transitioning through everything. I didn't do that for 9 months.
Wow.
And
that's so much. It
was difficult.
Yeah.
But
did all the goodness? Did you bear fruit?
Man, the results that I got was insane.
Wow.
Like I went from a certain income level to this. Like my friendship group, it was a very, very weird transition because the friendship group that I'd hung out with for years, it was almost like being sat at a table with strangers.
Because you can't relate to them.
Because I'm at nothing. And it wasn't just a case of like, oh, I met and I see it. It was like, man, these guys are weird.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here anymore. And I disassociated from loads of people. And again, everyone's like, oh, you've changed. I'm like, of course I have.
Yeah. And did you abstain from having sex or just abstain from
sex.
Ejaculation?
Yeah.
Sex completely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing achievement.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It was difficult.
Difficult, I can only imagine. And that is fascinating. There's something that just popped into my mind there because I seen your story earlier on at Brian Tracy and a topic that I love to speak about. And I think you definitely have this because obviously the life you're creating now, but positive expectancy of an outcome. Do you only expect positive people, do you expect people to always want to do business with you or always want to be your friend? Is this something that you think about or how do you view that thing, positive expectancy?
I have it heavily. I expect people...
You're very happy-go-lucky.
Yeah. I expect people to operate on the same thing. And again, my missus will laugh at this because I get pissed off at sheer incompetence. Like I've just spent 42 minutes on a call this morning to arrange to get my fucking blood work done. Okay. Like... that to me is if it's taking 40 minutes, you're losing business. So like my brain operates on speed.
Okay, efficient.
So I also want that positivity around me all the time, but that angers me to an extent. Okay. So this is where again my missus does obviously the coaching side of things. Yeah. And I get angry real quick.
Is that because you're a driven individual?
Yeah, I'm a very strong red personality.
Yeah.
So I love
red personality. What's that?
So you have 4 different character types. You have like red, green, blue, and yellow.
Okay.
So reds are very money orientated, leaders, driven. blues are your party guys who love to be around social environments.
Okay.
Green are very analytical. They love taking notes. And then you've got your yellows who love helping and caring for other people.
And you just be one, or can you tap into?
You can tap into two or three,
But you're predominantly red.
So that's why for me, when I was doing sales, I was a killer at it, because I understood when I was speaking to someone within the first 30 seconds what personality type they were. So rather, if you're not a red personality, I'm not going to try and sell you on money, becoming a leader. If you're a yellow, I'm going to say, listen, if you get involved in this opportunity with me, and we can start going down this path, you can help all these people get better, get fitter, get healthier, get stronger. Yeah. So like you can guide them down something that's ticking and resonating with them.
So you're finding what drives them.
Yeah.
I love
it's Jim Rohn says it's like art of manipulation, if you will, but you're using manipulation for a good thing, rather than a negative.
That's a great point as well. Like, you can manipulate people for good things. It's not always, it doesn't have to be for a negative or want to gain control or power over them.
But I think from a positive expectancy, I expect that.
Yeah.
So like for me, my friendship group is very, very small. Obviously moving over here, I found it difficult to make solid friends in Marbella because it's such a transient place.
Because people are coming and going all the time.
Yeah, you've got people in and out. 1 minute they're selling you insurance, the next minute they're a real estate agent.
Yeah.
I found that very difficult. So now I've just kept myself to myself, kept my head down. I've disassociated myself from a friendship group that I had when I first met you.
Yeah.
I'm not around that anymore, but that's led me to the things that I'm getting now.
Yeah.
So again, they played a part in my consciousness.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny as well? Like, people do come in and out of your life.
Yeah.
Nothing is of permanence unless it is a long-term partner that you have, or friends that are for life. Especially the line of business you're in and what you're doing and how you're moving, people are going to come and go.
Yeah.
This is a natural flow of life as well. Always leave it with a good impression.
Yeah.
I said this before we got going. People always remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
So even going with a positive expectancy or whatever it might be is like, it all comes down to how you're thinking about things.
100%.
Once again, Earl Nightingale, it's like we are what we become, should I say, what we think about.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you view yourself? The self-image is very interesting as well, and that's something I picked up from all these great thinkers, is like, what is the self-image that you have of you?
Yeah.
Most important thing, because if you view yourself as someone that like doesn't deserve it, or is not, granted, or shouldn't be granted success in life, or shouldn't have a life of abundance or opulence, well, guess what? That'll be delivered back to you.
And obviously you're in the fitness space, right? So like for me, this is a big thing because I've gained 5 kilo and I can see where I've gained it. Like I've got a bit of extra side boob, like my belly's hanging over my belt a little bit. And I was going through a phase, and I don't know obviously what your audience is right now, but I don't mind the C word, but I was looking at myself going, you're a fat cunt. Every day I was like saying that. And my girlfriend was like, Brad, you literally say, be conscious of what you speak. Life and death's in the power of the tongue. And it was very, very weird because the days that I was saying that to myself, I would look at myself in the mirror, completely different, in the same clothes, the same t-shirt, the same socks. One day I'd think, and I'm like, oh, I look good today.
Yeah.
But on the different day where I'm calling myself a little fatty bum, I'd look at myself and go, man, you look fat today. And it's so weird, like how we program our brains to think about certain things. So when we've got our networks watching TV all day, listening to the radio all day, they've got negative friends, they've got negative people at work, they're not enjoying their life. Like their environment that they're in is toxic day in, day out. So it's very, very hard for them to transition out of their life that it is. But that's where, like, obviously having the shift, if you will, to kind of get out of that comes in. 100%.
Yeah, massively so. And I think an interesting point you touched on there, and definitely something you're aware of, is like, what are you feeding your mind?
Yeah.
What are you feeding, even the thoughts as well? Because like sometimes we can be very self-critical as well. Although we expect all this, greatness, we do have a negative bias in our brain 100%. To keep us alive, and that can also act in a negative way. Yeah. But any other lessons pop up from?
I think the Bob Proctor stuff for me was my biggest transition, 100%. I think also, like, from a scripture standpoint, I'm not sure who it is. I think it was Matthew 7:7. Or in fact, I'm going to read this out. I wrote
go for it,
actually, because Matthew 7:7. Asking it will be given to you, seeking you'll find, knock and the door will open to you. And obviously that then for me leads into Mark 11:24. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Yeah. And I think not a lot of people do that. Like ask. Because if people understood, like if you're religious, I used to ask my clients, like, why do you pray? If you're who are you talking to? Oh, am I speaking to God? Well, right, okay, well, God is just a consciousness.
That's what God is.
So like you're asking yourself for that, but then nothing else is matching up. So when I used to look at like the word belief or believe, in there is lie. So as a human being, we have to lie to ourselves every single day, not to friends, not to family, not to loved ones, but you have to lie to yourself that everything that you've written down on scripture is yours already. So like when you start to do that and you start to put all of the scripture stuff and you're like, not everything might make sense to you right now. This stuff certainly didn't to me 3 to 5 to 7 years ago. I used to look at it thinking, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense. Knock on you, what? Whereas now I understand it and it's living testament of it coming into my life.
Yeah.
I'm like, right, I don't care whether it's God, I don't care whether what it is, as long as I understand that what I'm thinking, I'm speaking, and I'm writing down, it can come into fruition.
Yeah.
I just need to start asking for bigger things, start doing bigger things, start moving a little bit differently.
Yeah, I love that. Ask and you shall receive it. It's so relevant.
Yeah.
God, are you religious now, or how do you view it?
Do you know what, mate? If you'd have asked me this 10 years ago, like when I said, when I was first sat in that room and they were talking about, like, write the vision, make it plain.
Yeah.
I used to sit there as the most obnoxious person in the room. I'd be like, I'm not fucking listening to this.
Yeah.
I am not religious.
You had a poor attitude towards it.
Because I've been brought up, my mum and dad weren't religious. Like, no one around me growing up was religious. But now I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a religious person. I understand that there is more out there than just me. In the energy or the frequency or the consciousness, whatever you will. So now I understand that if people have to believe in something else other than themselves to begin with to help them get there,
so be it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Like if they have to believe that asking God for something or asking whatever they believe in from a religion standpoint is going to get them there, and it points them to pick up The Strangest Secret, it points them to listen to Bob Proctor, it points them to read Think and Grow Rich, then that was the process they had to go through. And I think a lot of people lean on religion, they lean on their beliefs that sometimes may hinder them a little bit too much because they are caught up in almost like a blinker mode, if you will, like a horse. And I always think like, right, once you take that off and you see, oh shit, like I can read that book that maybe gives me a different point of view.
Exactly.
But yeah, I won't say I'm religious as such.
But you do believe there's that.
I do believe in energy and consciousness and everything.
And I think
like
it is. I think all religions, what it is, what each and every God is a state of consciousness, a divine consciousness, whatever way you want to kind of phrase it up. But that's what it is. Yeah. A state of mind. And consciousness is such a crazy thing, and yet we still can't explain what it is, but we all operate on some state of consciousness. Yeah. Is that so crazy?
I saw a great thing today.
I can't wrap my head around that.
I saw a great thing today, and it was like, we're breathing now.
Yeah.
And if you hold your nose and you hold your breath, you don't die straight away. You pass out. Yeah. So like what you're breathing in is literally consciousness. It's energy. So like when I was like, fucking hell, it's true. Because you don't, just by doing this, you don't die straight away. No. Your obviously brain shuts off from an energy that it has to protect itself. But this still keeps thinking. And I was like, fucking hell, like we are just energy beings. Like,
yeah, and do you know what's so crazy is like when you fall asleep at night, where's your state of consciousness going?
Yeah.
And then you dream.
So I'm big into this. So this is something that I kind of went down rabbit holes of. So when we're awake, our perineum secretes something to keep us awake, to stop us from entering dream state. So when we're starting to fall asleep, the perineum relaxes and stops producing that to allow you to enter in dream state. So this is where when you ask people who are stressed, anxious, worried, anxiety, whatever it is, they don't necessarily dream too much because their brain is still secreting that to keep them in fight or flight all the time. Yeah. Whereas someone who is relatively relaxed or they've got a little bit more of a chill lifestyle, you will find that they dream a hell of a lot easier because their brain is a lot more free. It's allowed to think a little bit more. So what I started doing a lot when I was kind of in my growth phase, I would go to sleep listening to my own affirmations.
Brilliant.
In spoken. So I used to do it on a voice recorder. I would put some really tranquil music over it and it'd be like, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am earning this amount of money per month. I'm so happy and grateful.
How effective.
And I'd have that. It turned off after 15 or 20 minutes, but I knew that would be the stuff that...
Because your subconscious is like your heartbeat.
It never turns off.
Never turns off.
Yeah,
never turns off. You can tap into that because that is your operating panel. Like, we operate from how we think. And if you can almost override the system, or even not even override it, but set your computer up to give you the results that you want.
It's like a hack.
It is like a hack.
It's like when people cheat on PlayStation games, Xbox games, like they know the hack to get that cheat to bring out the best of the game.
Exactly.
So if you knew that for you, why not program yourself that daily? And that's where, like, I see human beings who say they want to do this, they say they want to do that, but then they act and move differently. Like, that for me boggles my brain.
Where do you think they're missing? What do you think is missing there between, you know, having the input of information but not taking action or actually aligning your behavior to become whatever it is that you need to be? What do you think? Because that is like, I'm not fully there just yet. Like, I feel like I'm on the path to it, and like you're experiencing, you know, the life you have now, and I'm slowly bridging that gap of where I want to go. Yeah. But for so long, maybe I didn't. So what do you think people are actually struggling with in regards to? I
think most people lack, like, the execution.
Okay.
They lack the decision, because I was for 10 years I was coaching people on how to make money online.
Yeah.
And most people give you the excuse that they don't have time. They work, they do this, they do that. But, like, I was the same. And I was the person staying up till 2, 3, 4 a.m. I didn't care what it took to get there.
You were just
but I never let the following day at work, I never let that affect how I was. You wouldn't know that I was up till 4.
Okay.
I turned up, I smashed my shit, went home and did it again and again and again. So most people lack that, and I think that the world that we live in today, so many people are entitled, or they know that they can make money online, and I think that they miss the action part of it. They miss the part of it which does take a little bit of grit.
Like, that's a word. I literally have it at the tip of my tongue, man. Grit, that's it.
Actually going and doing the fucking shit that you say you're going to do.
Do you know what it is? Like, how bad do you fucking want it? Like, how bad do you want it? Like, if you really want this life that you talk about or that you imagine in your mind, you've got to bridge that gap through action, I think.
And I think a lot of people use money as an excuse, right? They say that I don't have enough money to do this, I don't have enough money to do that. But when I was grinding, I was paying to go to events, to conferences, before my fucking rent came out. Yeah. Because I knew I didn't have any money anyway. Like, what am I going to do? Phone landlady and be like, oh, I don't have any rent this month. She might be like, oh, give me it in a week, when I know I get paid. So I would pay to buy the stuff that I needed.
Because you knew it was going to get you quicker.
Yeah. Whereas if you're always, I've got to wait for this to come in to pay my rent and then I'll do it, you're never going to have that.
Do you know what's interesting? As you talk about that there, it once again is that polarity of scarcity, abundance. And this has to become almost so clear in your mind. If you want to create a life that you want to have, you have to think abundantly.
100%.
You have to think, oh my God, there's more money going to come my way, or there's more opportunities coming my way, or I'm going to meet better people.
Yeah.
But you have to, like, I think the universe rewards you when you take action towards your desired outcome.
100%.
But if you're like, you're taking a step back, timidity, should I say, is a disease. Be a bit kind of bold in your action.
Yeah.
Because courage and just that kind of, just the sense of getting after, you will be rewarded for it. Yeah. But if you take a step back, look, you get the life you've always had.
I think taking what you actually want, and like when I was doing the high ticket sales stuff, we used to listen to Florence Scovel every day.
Who's that?
I'll send you that. You'll love it. But it's basically, it was talking on there about asking for what it is you want, but you can ask for something so heavily that it affects the person who's in that. So there was a great story on there about asking for this specific house that they'd seen. And she wanted it so badly that the person in the house died. And the house came up for sale. So we understand how powerful we are as human beings. Because obviously this is my life. This is my reality. And everyone else in it is a figment of my imagination. I also think of it like a game. When you're loading up on GTA... and you go through the screens loading and the cities loading at the same time. Yeah. That's almost how I envision my life. So as I move through it, different parts of the map are unlocking. So if you want something so badly, you've just got to think of it and believe it and start speaking it. Like, I was weird in the shower every morning. I used to say it out loud. I'd say it while I was driving. I had, on my 3 Series BMW, I'd have the flip switch of the Lambo that cost me 140 quid. I'd have my Lambo in the flip down mirror, and my network used to think I was a weirdo. But if we understand that we're our own God, our own creator, our own version of it, we can have whatever we want. I think most people lack that because they don't have people around them giving them that level of belief that they can do something.
Feeding back the same information. Yeah, Jim Rohn talks about it, and look, it's been repeated over and over and over again, but like that average of 5 people, if you've got 5 people of believers that are like, you can go on and achieve this, or like you're all
Yeah.
feeding each other positive inputs. It's
100%.
positivity. I know people think, oh my god, well, positivity, but like it is a real thing.
It is.
And like no one wants to be around someone that's negative. Like we want to be around people that are shining bright lights, that are achieving great things, that are moving in the right direction, that are progressing their life forward. We don't want to be with people that are like not doing anything. Like we admire. There's like it's value orientated as well. Of
course
like,
it is, yeah.
if you've got good values, well, you're going to attract them other people in.
Yeah,
it's only a matter of time.
And I think you kind of shared something, about leaving that someone with that power of, kind of extra whenever you meet someone. So like, whenever I meet someone, I want them to think, fucking hell, you were cool.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to think that. Some people might think I'm a dick, which is fine. But like the power of increase, whenever you meet someone, whenever you leave someone like with the power of increase when you've met them, like I might have a conversation with you now. In the back of my head, I already know I'm going to send you the floor and shoulder shin stuff. Might not help you, but it'll be like, oh, you thought of that. And we've spoke about it before, like becoming a better friend. Like there's a lot of people around us that just need that little bit of time every now and then. They need a conversation every now and again, or they want someone in their life who can give that bit of a kick. I'm not saying become friends with everyone, because I definitely don't, but the ones who you do have in your life, that you do have in your corner, like how often do you show up for them? Like if they need something, like it was my friend's wedding the other day. I've met him 3 times in person. We've known each other for 6 years.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I didn't think you'd come. I'm like, of course I'm going to fucking come. It's your wedding. So like in his head, he's grateful that I took the step out to come to his wedding, when in my head, that's a no-brainer.
I love that, man. I love this concept as well. I'm glad you brought it up, because I mentioned it pre-podcast. It's like, you explained this to me on the beach in Marbella, and I was like, this is so accurate. Being a better friend, like friendship, right? It's not a competition.
No.
You're not out to win, but just show to the other person that they're valued, cared for, that you're taking time out of your day to consider them, and show your appreciation for them. Because like 100%. People, I keep reiterating the same point, but people remember how you make them feel. It's very important. Like, make that effort, because if you don't make that effort, like, people forget about people as well. You just from the past, and that's how it goes.
Because you can pour into people as much as you want, but they have to be willing to receive that at the same time. So like, I've had some great people in my life that I've come up with, that they hit their cap. They were very happy where they were, and I was like, love them where I leave them, kind of thing. Yeah. And if they want to come with me, they're more than welcome to, but they might not be ready for that next bit of movement yet. Yeah. And I think that from a friendship perspective, I've got a very, very core group of friends that know that if one of them rang me in 10 minutes after this podcast finished, and they say, Brad, I need you back in the UK, I'd be at Malaga Airport in the next 40 minutes looking for the next flight. Yeah. So, whereas like, I'll be like, oh, what's it for? Like, look, it's 3 o'clock. It's day. Like,
excuses.
Yeah,
like that's.
And I think that's it. It's a very difficult thing when you have that around you, because when you start to grow and you start to make money, a lot of the leeches from the past come back, who kind of try to jump on the tailcoat a little bit. They want to come along with the ride, but they've not put in the grind at the same time.
For you, how have you kind of maybe let people go of some sort? Is it just a natural progression of just drifting?
No. How do I word this? I've said the C word already, so I'm going to say it again. I've become a horrible cunt. Yeah. And not in a bad way, but like, I've just got so good at telling people how I think.
Just being straight with people.
Yeah, because I think I used to be the person who'd sugarcoat something.
That's so valuable.
Pity-patter around the bush, whereas I'm now like, you've been a shit friend. You're not doing what you said you were going to do. Adios. Yeah. And then they go into archive, and they're sitting there for a little bit, and the conversation might never happen again until I see them in person. Yeah. Because once I've made that decision to shut you off, it's like a closed door. Just let them go. And I think so many people hold on to that friendship that they had in school, or someone they sat next to in English, because they were a best friend in school. But you're not aligned on anything other than you used to go to the pub on a Friday night, or you've both got a kid, or you've both got this, or you've both...
It's mad. Like, how do you... Like, yeah, I just know you're on a completely different path. It's like, you can't like associate with people. Like, you develop different interests. Well, like, when I think of a friend group from childhood, it's like, surely you changed. like how do you still have the same interests 20 years later? Like, as an individual, surely there's a path that you want to go on. Like, clinging on to different people is definitely not a good thing at all. But I love that. Just going back, I think it's Sermon on the Mount that you mentioned earlier on. Ask and you shall receive. Like, reiterating that point to yourself, like, nothing can come your way in life if you don't, speak it into existence. What is it you want?
Yeah.
What, or not want, or like, I suppose want is
Yeah,
applicable there. It is applicable
yeah.
there. But it's like, what is it that you want out of life? Define that. Get clear on the image.
Yeah.
And for you now, over the next couple of years, it's just being here in Marbella and building.
Yeah, and just build. Like, don't get me wrong, I've also got my stuff set up in Dubai and things like that. So, like, for me, but like you mentioned there, the Sermon on the Mount, like there is a scripture in the Bible that I do like out of that side of things. And it's about being a shining light on the hill.
Nice.
And I think every single person has the ability to be that shining light. And there's so many people around you trying to put that light out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the exact scripture is of that, but it's basically talking about like being that person who's so outly spoken about what it is that they believe in.
Yeah.
And don't worry about who says shit over here. Don't worry about who tries to put you off your path, because when you start going down something, I remember my early days, like even today, my mum still doesn't fully grasp what I do. My dad doesn't understand it, but that's because it's not the generation. So like they're always breathing the air of caution, if you will. They're putting that little bit of worry into it, a little bit of fear,
their parents
a little bit of doubt.
as well. So,
But then you have that on a more of a micro scale with your close friend group. Because if they're not on that path and you hang out every day and you speak in the same groups every day, when you do go to transition to doing something, like with me, it was Herbalife.
Yeah. I remember telling you
In 2011. And my close friendship group used to take my protein shakes, my bags. They used to like take the fucking pants off and sit on it and be like, oh, you can't sell this shit now, like kids when we were growing up. And like, if I'd have listened to them then and the stuff that they used to post on Reddit and these threads and stuff like that, I would never have gone down that route. And I think you almost need, and if it's Earl Nightingale, if it's Bob Proctor, if it's Jim Rohn, if it's whoever it is that guides you to get on that path, I think that is what can ultimately change someone's life heavily. And I think that's why these type of podcasts are very, very powerful. Because obviously we're going to clip this up into reels, we'll put content out there. And I think if people just take action and they make a decision that they do want more, they do want to change their life, they do want to get to that next level, they do want to earn more money. Right, well, I've made that decision now. Well, what do I need to do?
What do you need to cut away?
Yeah.
Because I think, I could be butchering this now, but the word decision in Latin or Greek terms means part of it is to cut off, to cut away. So it's like there's some elements when you make a decision, you're letting go of maybe other paths you can go down. Because I believe as well in life, like there's a various number of different paths that we could go down, and sometimes it's like choose one, stay on it, and see where that develops, where that goes as well. What else did you mention there?
And it's like when you look at, like, for example, if we use ayahuasca as an example in this, I don't know how deep into like the psychedelic
Are you
stuff.
deep into psychedelics?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Have they been beneficial to you?
Yeah.
Because I have a very close friend now. He's 10 years older than me. He's like this most transformative thing he's
100%.
ever done. But he said, like, you can have the psychedelic experience, but he said the integration is the most important part.
100%, yeah.
But tell me your own opinion on
So, like, I was just going to talk about, like, ayahuasca, for example. So, ayahuasca is obviously two vines of a tree from fucking hundreds of miles apart. Yeah. In my head, I'm like, why did someone know to mix that and make that into a concoction that someone could consume?
Yeah.
So, like, that to me shows that there's shamans or other spiritual beings before us that have guided us a little bit, specific people, to open that path to the right person. So when you look at like ayahuasca, when you drink that, you have an 8-hour trip and you go through a journey of your life to an extent. And in that journey, you're seeing the decisions that you've made on today's life.
Wow.
So like I've got a friend of mine that was heavily into cocaine, ket, everything. He went on a retreat and he envisioned how he was going to die. It literally showed him, like, if you keep on this path, this is how your family are going to be. This is how you're going to be dead. He came out and he was, I don't want to say he was a bum. If you're watching this, mate, I'm sorry, but you were pretty much a bum. Right? You were a scrub. Like, he's now gone on to build a multi-7-figure business.
Oh, wow.
He's completely transformed his life. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't smoke anymore. Like, he saw the path that he was going on. So if we could see that now, based on where we are, the actions that we're taking currently, without taking ayahuasca, without taking DMT, would we keep doing what we're doing?
Yeah.
99.99% of the time would be no, because we're going to see how we're going to end up. And I think we've just got to take them decisions within ourselves to actually take that shift. And even though it feels uncomfortable, it might hurt a little bit. You're going to lose some friends. Your family might think you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
You might live like you're in a shrine. But like in 6, 12, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, however long the journey takes, you're going to sit there and think, fucking hell, I'm glad I did this.
Yeah. Well, you have two options in that case, don't you? To stay in the same path or change course, which is so important. And with your own journey of psychedelics, Brad, have you got visions of the future that have came up when you've...
I've not gone ayahuasca route yet.
Okay.
So I was meant to do that in 2021. Then obviously the C word happened.
Yeah.
I believe that happened for me at the right time because I wasn't ready. I was going there asking questions rather than letting it guide me.
Because they say you have to get called.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I basically, how it kind of came into my life was I was going to Ibiza a lot and we went to a white party. And it was on an island. And it was basically with a girlfriend of mine that I know. And she basically was told that it's 100% categorically she will never have kids. 100%. You basically, your insides are fucked.
Yeah.
And we were at this party and this woman with scraggly as fuck hair, I remember it clear as day, came in all black and started speaking to my friend. She was like, oh, what are you doing this week? Yada, yada, yada. She was like, oh, I'm here to party tonight. Then we're here for another 3 or 4 days. And she gave her a business card to say to go to this place, and it was a retreat. It was an ayahuasca retreat. And we're all like, nah, you can't do that. Don't be weird. Like, you've just met this woman. Where are you going? You might get kidnapped. You might get this. You might get that. And she went anyway, and she did an ayahuasca retreat. And she said that it felt like months that she was in the trip. And all the way through it, Mother Ayahuasca was rubbing her belly. And then now she's got twins. So like that blew my mind. So when I heard that story of her going to ayahuasca retreat, I researched DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine. I researched what that was, how it can work with your brain, how like the trip of it can work and everything like that. Started going deep into it, booked the retreat to Peru. And obviously that the C word popped up. Yeah. But that's because I wasn't ready. But like for that to happen to her, for someone who was told 100% she's had everything that you could possibly do to try and conceive a child, to then go in and having that where she remembers it clear as day. She said she was sat and Mother Ayahuasca was just rubbing her belly, what felt like months.
So do you think, obviously in that case, in that scenario, that, because like before, she was told she couldn't have kids, no chance at all, that there's some spirit of some sort that has gone channeled into her body for her then to have the possibility of kids, and she's gone on to have twins. Yeah,
I think of it like when Bob Proctor teaches the consciousness scale. So like you've got your conscious thoughts, goes into your subconscious thoughts, comes into action. We don't know what we're programmed to as a young kid. So our consciousness that we're thinking every day goes into a subconscious and it becomes us.
It's automatic.
So like she might have had one strand of consciousness that's off ever so slightly, and that's the baby making one, because she might have been told when she was younger that you're no good, you're never going to have kids, this, that and the other, like look at this fucking sprog, whatever it was. So like that there has become her, whereas like that one shift has aligned back onto her body to give her what she was worth.
So do you think she was operating from a belief before that she couldn't have kids? You see, that's the power.
And again, that's where I've not dived into it too much with her, because she's not woo woo like that. I don't even know how she ended up on the fucking retreat, to be fair.
Yeah.
But when she went to the retreat, she described the lady, and they did not know who that was. Still to this day, no one ever saw this woman again. So like that there is the type of stuff that blows my mind, where you might have such a freak encounter with one random person who's nothing to do with, like that place there, the retreat, didn't know who this woman was.
Who gave her the card?
Yeah. It was a white party. This bitch turned up in black.
Yeah.
And we all remember her because we were taking the piss out of it for years. Still to this day. Like, do you remember that random girl turned up with scraggly hair, like, and you went and got your things and now you've got, like, what?
That is madness, man.
Yeah.
Do you believe in synchronicities?
Yeah.
That sound like I heard actually Dr. Joe Dispenza talk about it recently. He said there's no such thing as coincidences in life. Everything happens for a reason, so everything is basically a synchronicity.
Yeah.
In that instance, with that's just a mad.
It's like when you look at deja vu.
Yeah.
How I like to think of deja vu is you've aligned with the timeline that you should be on. So this has already happened. So when you have that deja vu, like, fucking hell, I've been here before. You have. You're just on a different timeline. So like, let's say level 10 is where we're aiming to get to. every time we have deja vu, as long as we're moving in the right way, it's bumping us towards that level 10 version of it. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. So do you think things are more predetermined, or that we've got free will to actually impact our future?
I think free will.
You think free will? Yeah, because it does feel like we've an element of free will. But you also think that things may possibly be already laid out for us?
Potentially, yeah.
That is such a weird concept. I'm trying to wrap my head around it because I've been thinking about it a bit recently. It's like our whole lives mapped out. But like, this is what I mean. Like, we could be different versions. Like, there's you, Brad, back in Huddersfield, and there's Brad in Marbella. It's two different guys.
And if you look at it like from now, what we're looking at with AI, us as, do you watch Rick and Morty?
I know of the show, yeah.
Okay, so Rick and Morty, there is an episode of it where he basically creates a life form in a battery.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
They go inside the battery. Rick and Morty go in there. And within this battery, they've created a battery that has a life form in it.
Okay, so battery within the battery.
Battery within a battery, but they're thinking it's the God's greatest gift. They've created a fucking life form in a battery. So if we look at AI now, us as human beings, we're just creating AI, or it's just coming into fruition.
Yeah.
But then also on computer games, you can create AI versions of computer games. So in my head, I'm like, right, are we just like remember Sims?
Yeah, Sims. Yeah, simulation.
Think of Sims. Like, because when shit was going west for me, I used to go, mate, come back to your computer.
Yeah.
Like, in my head, I'd be like, come on, mate, come and play the game. Like, I'm ready to win. I want to level up a bit. Like, send me to work. Do something.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, I'm not saying that we are in a simulation or we are just little ones and O's in a game, but we don't know.
But it's so funny. This conversation through multiple parts of it has been game related.
Yeah, literally.
Life is a game.
Yeah.
Are we in a simulation? Is another question. And how do you even wrap your head around that? But like, even with AI and like you talked about there, like within the battery.
And I also think that the powers that be show us things that we're, because obviously from a devil side of things,
because there's a karmic law.
Yeah, they have to show you what they're doing so that it's the karmic side of things.
Yeah.
So like when you look at the Truman Show, like little things like that from a film perspective, Simpsons have been predicting things for the last God knows however long. So like they have to show you what's coming so that as a human population, we're like, oh, I watched that on Simpsons in 1996, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And like, again, it's there's so many questions and rabbit holes that you could go down. But I think as long as you're aware of things.
Awareness.
And you have the ability to choose freely, like, the government, people say, do you vote? I'm like, absolutely not, because it makes zero difference. It's already predetermined. Mm-hmm. So, like, that way, then, as long as I know 100% inside me what I can control, what I can do for me, what I can focus on, what I can have an impact on now, see, smell, touch, taste, whatever it is, that is what I will focus on.
Because it's all relative. Like, it's your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So just bring it back to what is relative to you as well.
And I'm not going to worry about who's in government or who's in power. Like Trump, don't get me wrong, he'll have a huge impact now for America. Yeah. But again, the people there will either see it as a positive or a negative based on their belief at that time.
Exactly,
For me, it's a strange world that we live in.
It is, and look, I think the most important thing is bringing back to awareness. There's actually a quote from Bob Proctor that you think he quoted some German philosopher, Van Wolfgang, something, but he said, don't look back in anger or forward in fear, but around in awareness. Yeah. And it's so relevant. It's just like, be aware of your situation, your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors. To be honest, in the grand scheme of things, nothing else matters but you, because life is operating through you right now. Yeah, exactly. And one day life will obviously pass on. So the question I have, because it's kind of got a bit of spiritual talk here, which I love, man. We went deep. But tell me, in the spiritual sense, life will eventually come to an end that we know of it today. Yeah. How do you view death, or what do you view of death? What do you think death is? I think for me and Kate had this conversation not so long back. I think we are just consciousness and energy.
And again, if we go back to ayahuasca to an extent, people who go there who are about to have that final breakthrough, they see it as coming through a tunnel, coming through a light. And you're told that when you're about to see death, you see the white light. You see the white light. Yeah. How I think of that there is that you're being reborn. So when you do die, reborn. I don't think death actually exists, right? No. This is going to sound mad, but there's you're born, you're reborn. Yeah. There's no real, because there's energy flowing through us right now. Yeah.
We're in a state of consciousness. We've got a soul which is eternal. Eternal means never ending.
Yeah.
Eternal is never ending. I think that soul transmutes into another energy form. It goes on.
Yeah.
That's just what life is.
Yeah.
And funny enough, the friend I mentioned earlier on that has had many psychedelic experiences, he's been told in the visions of psychedelics that he's had past lives.
Yeah.
So he's been here before in other forms.
And that's where, and again, like if you want to go deep into it, we have like, if you look at your birthday, for example, that's a specific number.
Yeah.
As a number, you have a certain predetermined route.
Oh, I heard numerology.
Numerology. So like when you go, and if you go deep down how all of that works, like for example, there's certain numbers that means you've completed a certain amount of lifetimes. You've like 11's supposedly meant to be like the number, you've basically completed everything and you're back in your highest form, your highest self.
Wow.
So like there's certain numbers, and again, this is from a numerology standpoint. Like I've not dug too deep into it. Like I'm a one life path. So your life path number is also a predetermination. So that's where when you look at people who've come in power, they're all certain life paths. They're all born on certain days.
They're determined to be.
Like when you look at, I think it was Elon Musk, when you look at the guy who set up Amazon, Jeff Bezos, their businesses were incorporated on a certain day, which adds up to a certain number from a numerology standpoint, because they believe that on them days at that specific time will predetermine where they are.
So in that case, obviously you're talking about successful people here. Could it be someone's born a certain day, a certain time, and their life will never amount to anything?
Potentially.
Wow. That's frightening, isn't it? Like that's why you need to wake up and be aware.
And but that's where then on that life path, they may need to become aware of fucking I'm a bum. So
and change course.
And so at the end of it, like let's use KFC guy as an example.
Yeah.
Did his business at what, 60 something?
60s, yeah. Exactly.
So imagine if him coming to the end of his life finally transitioned into it so that in his next life he's a better version of himself.
Wow.
So like when
so you've got to be thinking lifetimes ahead. Don't mind your future here. It's in the next life form.
Not just this,
but that's a good point as well, man, because like the karmic effect is so real. Like whatever happens is going to loop back around you. Like maybe not in this lifetime, but in another lifetime. And then the concept of heaven and hell.
Yeah.
I often think of that as well. Like I think that's more relevant to here, the life you're living right now, not some life you'll live in the future as well. But Brad, my head. Well, I need. Don't know if I need a coffee or what I need, man.
We've got another 2 hours in us, guys. Stay tuned. Go refresh.
My brain is fried, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a great conversation, as expected. I had that positive expectancy going into it. I knew it was going to be, because we've had many good conversations before. But so grateful, man. So grateful. So grateful. If people are looking to get in contact with you or would like to learn more about you or find you, where should they go?
On Instagram, I am Bradley Marchant. And then on YouTube, just Bradley Marchant. And you'll see the videos, the content on there. I'm going to start posting a little bit more on TikTok. I'm not a Snapchat kind of guy, but other than that, that's what you'll find.
Lovely stuff. And more vlogs as well.
That's it. More vlogs.
More vlogs as well. Got the Osmo. He's got the Osmo handy. He's a man to know. Listen, Brad, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure. And where are we going later on? Koya is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Everyone, all the best. Take care. Boom.
Well done, mate.
Man, that was savage. Oh my God.